BMRforum.com and BMRodds.com. What is going on, boys? What is going on? Welcome back to the lobby, episode number 84. 84 episodes already in the book, gentlemen. It feels like, we just started this whole crazy podcast thing and we've already gone through 84 episodes. Pretty wild. As always, Mr. Sam's in charge. What's up, Sammy?
What's up, Bobby? How you doing? Had a great vacation down in Charlotte. Was a all sports weekend. On Friday, I went shooting guns, and then I went to an MLS soccer game that Charlotte won in PKs. Saturday, went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, then went to the Charlotte-Boston Celtics basketball game where Charlotte covered the spread. Plus 10.5. They lost by 10. And then on Sunday, went to the Carolina Panthers New Orleans game where Carolina got the upset and won by a point. Pretty exciting game. And now back in upstate New York where we got a record high today. It's currently 73 degrees. I think the high today was 76. The record was maybe like 73, 74. I'm outside on my porch, short sleeve shirt, sitting on the couch, enjoying. But it's also pitch black outside too with the old daylight savings. But, good times over here, good vibe. Other than the Cowboys, RIP their season, but other than that, had a great week over here.
Nice. So your trip, were you doing a betting on each of those games you went to?
Actually, I did. So North Carolina is a betting state over there, so I was able to make some bets. Did some offshoring as well, and then basically every game that I was at, I did win a little bit of money. And it made it all worth it. Ironically, I did have the Saints in a money line parlay that I went 4 out of 5 on. So them losing the game stunk, but I did have Carolina plus the spread at 7.5 elsewhere. You
made up for it.
So I was hoping to get that perfect medium where Saints won by 2. Even though I was rooting for Carolina, and, I was with the fans and stuff, I was secretly like, come on, Saints. And, they lost. But, it was a great time. I mean, I was sitting at row 1. So, I was right there next to the players. I found the pace of the game really quick as far as the 30 seconds in between the plays. I was watching the I was watching the players, I was watching the coaches, I'm watching them coach them, I'm watching the substitutes, and then all of a sudden the next play happens, and Kamara's gaining 6 yards because the run defense stinks. But I thought gaining yards just seemed so effortlessly, maybe because, again, the angle at where I'm watching it, I feel like it seems so harder from a taller angle watching it on TV. Or, again, maybe it's because Carolina run defense stinks and Kamara was just so, easily getting through the line. But it was good. That was my second ever game, and it's good to go. And again, seeing the NBA game, my first ever soccer game live. I mean, everything about the weekend. I just did it all solo. I didn't really interact, with a couple fans here and there, but I just was to myself. I had the apartment to myself, went out when I wanted, ate when it was just I did my thing, it was just this whole monologue is more words than I spoke in 4 days in Charlotte.
That's the definition of the single life there, Sammy.
That's it, man.
Do what you want. It must be nice. So no action with the ladies when you were down there, huh?
No, I changed the location on Tinder. Didn't really get anything, but I went to one bar. It was way overcrowded, way packed. It was, I'm okay with the crowded, packed atmosphere in a game because you all have your seats, you all have your rows, you get through people when you enter and leave the game. But at a bar where you're just ass to ass and you're waiting 20 minutes for a drink, it's not my vibe. Too many people, so I just walk. And actually, everything in Charlotte is so accessible. It's so easy to get through. There's sidewalks everywhere. So I took an Uber ride, which was 8 minutes to get to the stadium, and I walked to the apartment, which was 45 minutes. So, it's not that bad of a walk back. The weather was beautiful. It was 65 and a little bit of wind. And again, the walk was easy. I would have waited that long for an Uber, and the Uber price, as would have been more because I'm waiting in traffic. Instead, I enjoyed a beautiful walk home, all on sidewalks, felt very safe and comfortable. And I mean, it was, Donnie, what's going on with you?
Very nice. So last question there, Sam, and then we'll go to you, Donnie, about the attending these different sporting events. So I think we've all attended sporting events, obviously, but do you prefer now after you've seen your second NFL game? And the only reason I'm saying this is because when I went to my first one, it was great. The atmosphere was great. The fans were great. I had a great time, but I left there feeling like I prefer to watch this on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more of a TV guy, but I think for the sake of being a fan of sport, it's something that you want to go and do,
Right.
depending on your location and the accessibility and the ticket prices. Now, again, we've talked in the past. I chose that team because they stink, and I knew the ticket prices would be fairly cheap relative to where I sat. So again, I did spend a good amount on row one, but in the 45-yard line, but the same ticket prices in MetLife for a Jets game is $2,500.
Yeah.
So relative to it, it wasn't bad. The soccer game prices were like 110, and I sat in like the 15th row. The basketball game was just over $200. And again, you're also talking like all the bullshit fees, and I'm including that. So the ticket prices were like 160, and then you get $50 worth of bullshit fees and all that.
Well,
and then that adds up.
I don't think they really do it much anymore. I remember back in the day, growing up in New York, New Jersey area, I would go to like Knick games and stuff. You'd be able to scalp tickets all day long. I mean, is it still
maybe based off that, But again, I went to a city where I was able to go to multiple events in multiple days. If I'm driving to MetLife, which is 3.5 hours, then I'm driving back. That's 7 hours of travel for a 3.5 hour game plus the ticket prices. Is that worth it compared to a vacation? So I still am a more home TV, red zone, all that action type of guy. But seeing it live, I think as a fan of just sport, it's worth it.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you had a great time, Sammy. That's wonderful. And hopefully you get to do something like that again here soon. Hopefully Vegas is next on the bucket list. Come see me. Come see me. Donnie, what's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? And by the way, Sam, one of the coolest things I've always done throughout my entire life is when I go to a new stadium or a new arena, I absolutely love it, man. There's nothing like walking into an arena you've never been to, but you see it on TV multiple times and just taking looks around. And by the way, Carolina downtown, you see the big buildings over the stadium here. It's got to be certainly a cool spot to watch it. And certainly, as you're right, the vantage point from you being on that, row number one compared to being in like the 300 level or the 500 level, whatever the top levels are, completely different experience and environment. So it's pretty cool that you got to see that there. But I'm with, I like the TV now, but I was a season ticket holder for the Eagles from 03 to 17. I saw hundreds of games live at Lincoln Financial Field. Nothing beats being in that environment, but also, again, I love it. Every time, when the first time I went to a Miami Hurricanes game back in the old Orange Bowl, I sat there for like a half hour way before everybody got there and just looked around. Like, I love that stuff. Any new arena, I'm all for it, boys. I love it.
Nice. Well, let's jump into some sports talk, guys. That's why we are all here. Sammy, let's start off with you. What do you got on the tennis court for us?
Yeah, so in reference to tennis, we're literally coming down to the last 2 weeks of the season. The women currently are doing their round robin for their WTA finals, which will end on Saturday with Coco Gauff advancing and Sabalenka advancing, which is no surprise. Likely to see Sabalenka, who's the new women's world number one, will end the year world number one, the favorite right now to win that title with a couple days to go. The men start on Sunday for their year-end finals, and we'll see what happens there. And then you got about a month off on the season, which obviously for me stinks for the daily tennis action. The thread, we're looking decent. We're at 52 units, so down a little bit over the last couple weeks, but we're still over 50 units on the year. 1 week, let's finish strong.
All righty, awesome. Thank you, Sammy. Donnie, let's move on to you. Let's talk a little bit of college basketball. I know the season's getting ready to start here. What do you think this upcoming season, and who do you like to take the championship?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's what I always love to say this. Like, starting college basketball seasons every year, I do zero research to start the season. Like, I always say, like, futures, I'm really not into it. And for college basketball, for me, November, couldn't care less. December, couldn't care less. The NFL starts to wind down about mid-January. We get to the playoffs. Then I'm in here. I'm all about statistics and numbers. I have no idea who's going to blow anybody out. Certainly, you have perceived notions. You line up UConn tonight against Sacred Heart. Yes, it should be a blowout. They should win by 35. But I'm just being honest. Like, I like the NBA to start the season because it's fun to bet on it on a night-to-night basis. College basketball doesn't even sniff my attention, guys, until probably 3 weeks into January.
All righty, Donnie, thank you. All along, during this whole run up to the election, we never talked it. This is a sports show primarily, but it's also a betting show. And, I know the political landscape was ripe yesterday with a lot of betting action going on. Sammy, let's go over to you with it. Did you have anything as far as the betting landscape was concerned last night?
No, I didn't. And actually, looking back at it, I feel like an idiot for not betting, over the last couple weeks. But hey, it is what it is. But I was watching it like live, I guess, from a perspective. in the sense of, you know, on Twitter, on X, they're posting live odds, and you're seeing that, and you're basically seeing what's happening live as, you know, Fox, CNN, whatever, ABC, whatever show you watch it on is giving you the same information as far as who's winning what state. Then all of a sudden the live bets are moving.
Yeah.
So that in your head, you're just like, all right, I see what's going to be happening. And then all of a sudden the lines went from, you know, 200 to 400 to 800. I think I went to bed around 11:30 Eastern, and he was basically minus 1,000. And then, you know, you kind of had an idea of what's going on because you're a gambler. So you're just like, oh man, that'd be a fucking upset if that happens. Or, I could have plus 750.
Right.
I'm sure there's some people that were hedging it along the way. Because
I'm sure.
You know, over the last few weeks, you know, based on who you talk to, what news media outlet you see, Trump was favored, then Harris was favored. I'm sure if you're a super smart bettor, or if you're getting your happy mediums in there where you're winning your guaranteed money both way.
Right.
And if you're able to do that, you know, on small margins, and that's how you're a professional gambler.
Exactly. Donnie, let's jump over to you. You know, last night, as far as the betting landscape, did you have anything?
No, I didn't have anything, but boy, Twitter and the betting landscape was on fire yesterday. The poly market sites here that all had it going for a couple weeks now, and you can finally see it in real time on election night. You also take a look at Bet Online, who's been phenomenal the entire time. One of the leading, you know, providers of getting in on election betting. It started out Trump like minus 156, minus 158 early in the afternoon. It was a steady runaway throughout the rest of the night. Sam's right on this. Like, if let's just say you would have bet Trump at a minus 150 price, around midnight, which 4 years ago, you're getting hundreds of thousands of dumps and, you know, coming in all over the place, all for Joe Biden. You would have been a fool not to take some of that massive, massive money by taking like a fraction of what you would have bet on Trump and placed on Kamala Harris, and could have an absolute landslide victory, even if Kamala Harris had won the election. I was fascinated all the way through, but the one thing I do learn about this now is the betting markets usually like to be good indicators. And by the way, they were absolutely sensational indicators all the way through the past couple weeks. It's fun to see things in real time when you used to just try to lean on biased media of Fox, biased media of CNN. Ooh, I wonder why. Like, you would have flipped it on last night. Fox Media is calling it at, like, you know, around midnight, and CNN's like, hey, it's toss-up out here at this point. But if you just looked at the betting markets, they told you exactly what was happening during that election. It was great to watch.
All righty. Thank you both. Sammy, let's jump over to you. Let's talk some NFL Week 9. You know, I know you went to the game, but what else did you have besides that, and how was your week?
Yeah, the week was actually pretty good. In terms of the contest, I lost my big guys, you know, so, you know, I've had a stretch where I keep losing my number 7 confidence, which obviously deters you from winning the whole week, which then doesn't help you for the long term. But as far as a gambling perspective, I had a positive week, so I was 5-2, so that's all that matters on that end. But we did have 4 guys this week that were 7-0, so shout out to the guys that were 7-0. Now, keep in mind, too, when it comes to the contest, that tiebreaker makes a difference. There were 4 guys that were 7-0. 2 of them got $200. 1 of them got $100 just based off tiebreaker. And the third guy got $130. So in the end of the day, you're still winning real money for a free contest. We'll say it week in and week out. But shout out to Stale and Frank Lee. And then the 2 guys that won on the tiebreaker, all 7-0, were Champ 2399 and JDS. Shout out to Jerky. Champ got the $200, but all 4 of them were 7-0. In reference to the overall standings, the top 4, we're looking at a difference of 4 points between them. You got TT Warrior 154, Pie Mike third place at 157, and then you got 2 leaders at 158. Only 1 point separates them, DJP and DH Ristov. So it's super tight, but again, weekly prizes. If you're not in it long term, you can win a couple $100. Weekly prizes. Free contest.
Speaking of free contest, speaking of winning weekly prizes, get your hands on some Baller coins tonight, guys. We have our next poker Tournament Champions Series event this evening. We're changing it up a little bit, doing it during the week. Hopefully everyone who's listening to this afterwards will jump on in, join, get your hands on some weekly Baller coins, and then ultimately get your hands on that coveted Tournament Champions event ticket where you can win those bigger Baller coin prizes. But Donnie, let's jump over to you. Week 9 in the NFL. How was it for you?
Prop bet's very good. One of my best touchdown week, anytime touchdown scoring market weeks here. In the contest, I did hit my big ones. I actually went 3-4. Started out with a 7 spot here on the Thursday night football game. Thought I was in pretty good condition for the weekend, but it didn't turn out to be that way. But from a betting perspective, did make some money, enjoying it here. Still in the top 25 in the contest, but outside of like weeks 1 or 2, where I actually was in the money, it's just been a mixed bag. 4-3, 3-4, 4-3, 3-4, stuff like that. So still trying to make a run and get it on those weekly contest numbers, but hit my big one last week, but just not enough action overall.
All righty, thank you, Sammy. Let's go over to you. Let's talk some college basketball, some college football. Excuse me. You got anything this weekend for us?
Yeah, in reference to college football, we got a little Maction tonight. So if you're looking for some Wednesday evening action, a little Maction, Northern Illinois -2.5 over Western Michigan. That's the only Maction for me. But going into the weekend, you got some good top 15 battles. You got Georgia versus Ole Miss. Georgia's a small favorite. I like them on the road against Ole Miss, 2.5. LSU Bama 11 versus 14. For me, maybe a live bet, that 7:30 prime time slot. So maybe nothing for me pregame. I kind of like LSU at home. That's where I'm going to be leaning, at least for the live bet standpoint. And then I like Indiana -14 over Michigan. Michigan obviously coming off the national title has been a huge disappointment this season. Indiana, the surprise, but they just keep beating teams up, and I like them at home -14. And then I'm going to go with Colorado over Texas Tech. I seem to be betting against them, and Colorado keeps winning. So let's take them at a short price, and I'm going to go with Colorado.
All righty. Awesome, Sammy. Thank you. Donnie, let's jump over to you. College football, what do you got this weekend?
Yeah, 2 games this weekend. I'm going to take a look at Miami, Florida, and Georgia Tech in the ACC. You take a look at Georgia Tech having a decent season, and Miami now in the first college football playoff show, ranked number 4 overall. They're unbeaten. Cam Ward, who I think is going to end up winning the Heisman Trophy due to the schedule, not that hard and all the way out. Next couple games, including the ACC championship game, as long as it's not Clemson, which looks like it won't be, in the SMU, I think he wins it. Line in this game, 10.5 points. I do think Miami wins, but I really like the over. It was 61.5 earlier in the week. Now it's up to 63.5, even 64s at some outlets. I really do think both of these teams can approach 30 points, because the one thing about Miami, really good on offense, really questionable defense. It's the perfect combination to get a lot of points. Game number 2, Florida and Texas. I'm going to take Texas to absolutely annihilate Florida by 3 touchdowns or more. Reason being, hey, did you see Florida hung around last week against Georgia? Doesn't matter. Lagway is out. They're young, talented freshman, injured his hamstring. They struggle, to say the least, to throw the football. This is going to be a big one here. Texas absolutely smokes Florida at noon on Saturday.
All righty. Thank you, Donnie. Sammy, what do you got in the NBA for us?
Yeah, the NBA, we first got to start with the Knicks, who I got to say are 1-0 and 1-0 against the spread on Wednesdays. So considering that we do these shows on Wednesdays, I got to like my New York team. So we're going to take the Knicks -7 over Atlanta. And the other ones, you got a couple short prices. I think they're the ESPN games tonight. Memphis at home -1 over the Lakers. Clippers -1 over the 76ers in a bench-filled superstar, everyone is out type of
game. All righty. Thank you, Sammy. Donnie, what do you got for us tonight in the NBA?
Tonight in the NBA, doubleheader. Hey, better stay up late tonight, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. This is a huge line here. Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder. Open up at 3.5. Some injuries and really good play by the Thunder, who, by the way, guys, haven't lost a single basketball game this year. I'm going to take Oklahoma City, and I'm going to ride the line. -7. I'll take them as road warriors up against the Nuggets. Then my Philadelphia 76ers late. Paul George came back in the last game against the Phoenix Suns. They were 7.5-point, 8-point dogs in that game, lost by 2 at the buzzer. I'm going to take the Philadelphia 76ers with the 1.5 points tonight to beat the Los Angeles Clippers. George back, game number 2. Tyrese Maxey there. No Joel Embiid because he's fighting reporters in the locker room. But I think the Philadelphia 76ers, non-public tonight, I'll take them tonight to beat the public and the Clippers.
All righty. Thank you, Donnie. And, Joel Embiid suspended 3 games for pushing that reporter. He's going to love that 3-game break. He doesn't want to play anyway.
My favorite tweet on that was the suspension should speed a play 3 games in a row.
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
Yes. Sammy, let's jump over to you for a little Week 10 NFL preview. What do you got? And what do you got for your 7?
Yeah, so just a note in reference to tomorrow. I do like Cincinnati, but I mainly like the over in that game. I think it should be a shootout. Both offenses are on fire. I do like Cincinnati to cover, but not necessarily from a confidence, but I like the over in that game. There's a couple games this week that I do like the over in. But we're going to start off with the Germany game. I like Carolina +6.5. Carolina, they beat a bad New Orleans team, but they also dropped the touchdown in the end zone, and they had an interception in that game where the New Orleans guy literally literally took the ball away. I was sitting near that sideline, so we all saw him catch the ball, and then all of a sudden New Orleans was celebrating. We're like, whoa, what happened there? And then we saw the replay where he just like took the ball away. So Carolina, I'm not saying is a great team, but the Giants are not a great team either, and you're going to get 6.5 points. I think Carolina has a potential to outright win this game, but at least be able to cover the 6.5. I like Tampa Bay plus 5.5 home to San Fran. I think all the stars align on San Fran this week in reference to kind of being a public favorite. They're coming off a bye. Tampa week off a short week. They lost in overtime on a Monday night game. So, they're not going to be San Fran's going to be much fresher than Tampa Bay, but I like Tampa Bay plus 5.5. Their run game's been solid. Their offense hasn't really stopped without their two guys with Evans and Godwin. And I think they have a chance to cover, or I always say with 5.5, there's a backdoor cover if you're down by 10 or 11 or something like that. I like Atlanta -4 over New Orleans. Listen, New Orleans is horrible. They lost 7 straight. They just fired their coach. What happened to that team that scored 90 points in the first 2 weeks? And Atlanta's rolling. Kirk Cousins, Bijan, they're beasting right now. So you're going to take Atlanta, who's the better team, over New Orleans that has no momentum and nothing going for them. I like Kansas City over Denver -9. Kind of the same theory as last week where I took Baltimore over Denver. Denver has beaten the teams that they're supposed to be, and they've lost to the teams that they're supposed to. Baltimore steamrolled them last week. I don't see any reason why Kansas City, who's the better team, doesn't steamroll them again this week. I like Washington over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I don't think is getting I like Washington over Pittsburgh. I don't think Washington is getting their respect from a line standpoint. They're well-rounded on offense. They have their quarterback. They have their receivers. They have 2 solid running backs, and they're putting up points on offense, and they're beating the teams. And they're at home, less than a field goal favorite. I'm going to take them -2.5 over Pittsburgh. We should be all taking Philly -7 over Dallas. It's time to throw the white flag in Dallas. Dak is out. They have no run defense, and Saquon is going to run for 150 yards plus. No reason to think that that's not going to happen. I wish to have a rivalry and wish to take Dallas, of course, but you gotta call it when you call it, and Philly should beat them up. And then lastly, are the Jets back? Are the Jets back? Sure, let's take them at a pick over Arizona. Again, kind of
why not?
Just because I got a lot of Jets fans. And then in reference to the game of the week, Detroit versus Houston, probably another over game, but how can you stop that Detroit offense right now? Right. I have futures on Houston, but hard to take anyone except for Detroit right now. Until someone beats them, keep taking them. They might be the best team in football.
Wow. All right, Sammy, thank you. Donnie, let's jump over to you. Week 10 NFL preview. What do you got?
Yeah, let's go. Super 7 for me. I'm actually just going to go line shopping on this one because Carolina in the marketplace right now is up to around 6 points getting here. I'm going to take the New York Giants at -4.5 in the contest pool. I think the Giants will be able to beat Carolina. The reason being, too, is you get that elevation. Like, hey, we won a game last week. It's exciting. It's fantastic stuff. I think the Giants actually are the better football team and a discounted price in the competition. I'll take them. Also, I'm with Sammy. The Atlanta Falcons go on the road to take on New Orleans. That team is absolutely dead in the water. Would it be a mild upset if they pulled it? Yes, it would. Fire your head coach, maybe get a bump. I understand that. That team stinks right now, and Atlanta is looking really good. I'll lay the 3.5 points. I'll go against Sammy in this one. Pittsburgh Steelers coming off the bye, fortifying their team. Extra pass rusher, extra wide receiver. I really do like Washington. I think it's a good spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Would love if they were getting 3 or more, but in the contest, it's only 2.5, so you're basically betting Pittsburgh to win outright. I'll take that chance. Minnesota Vikings, who I'm very high on this year, bounce back after losing 2 straight games with a nice victory over the Colts. They pay a dead Jacksonville team. Even though a dome team is going on the road, Minnesota should be able to handle their business. I'll lay the 4.5 points. I'm also going to take a flyer here so far on the New York Jets. I don't love this because Arizona will fight you. And if there's a team that's going to be fighting you and you fight the Jets, sometimes the Jets do buckle at this point. But I'm going to trust the Jets and Aaron Rodgers on the road like I've done before and got burned a few times, but I think things are starting to look up. That's a half-point number, so you're just picking the Jets to win. I'll go that route. And also with Sammy, Detroit -3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. I don't care. They're winning that football game. They're the best team in the NFC. They'll beat the Houston Texans this weekend. And then I'm going to take the Rams at home. I'll lay the 2.5. Miami's an absolute mess here. The Rams should get after it on offense. I'll take them to win that game by a field goal or more.
All righty, Donnie. Thank you. And thank you, Sammy. And best of luck to everyone on the forum. Enjoy all the action. Cash those tickets, and we will see you guys around.
See ya.